Bible in a Year, the Message Version, March 9, Numbers chapter 11, verse 24 through chapter 13, verse 33. So Moses went out and told the people what God had said. He called together 70 of the leaders and had them stand around the tent. God came down in a cloud and spoke to Moses and took some of the Spirit that was on him and put it on the 70 leaders. When the Spirit rested on them, they prophesied. But they didn't continue. It was a one-time event. Meanwhile, 2 men, Eldad and Medad, had stayed in the camp. They were listed as leaders, but they didn't leave camp to go to the tent. Still, the Spirit also rested on them, and they prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and told Moses, "Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp." Joshua, son of Nun, who had been Moses' right-hand man since his youth, said, "Moses, Master, stop them." But Moses said, "Are you jealous for me? Would that all God's people were prophets. Would that God would put his Spirit on all of them." Then Moses and the leaders of Israel went back to the camp. A wind set in motion by God swept quail in from the sea. They piled up to a depth of about 3 feet in the camp and as far out as a day's walk in every direction. All that day and night and into the next day, the people were out gathering the quail. Huge amounts of quail. Even the slowest person among them gathered at least 60 bushels. They spread them out all over the camp for drying. But while they were still chewing the quail and had hardly swallowed the first bites, God's anger blazed out against the people. He hit them with a terrible plague. They ended up calling the place Kibroth Hatavah, grave of the craving. There they buried the people who craved meat. From Kibroth Hiwatavah they marched to Hazeroth. They remained at Hazeroth. Miriam and Aaron talked against Moses behind his back because of his Cushite wife. He had married a Cushite woman. They said, "Is it only through Moses that God speaks? Doesn't he also speak through us?" God overheard their talk. Now, the man Moses was a quietly humble man, more so than anyone living on earth. God broke in suddenly on Moses and Aaron and Miriam, saying, "Come out, you there, to the tent of meeting." The 3 went out. God descended in a pillar of cloud and stood at the entrance to the tent. He called Aaron and Miriam to him. When they stepped out, he said, "Listen carefully to what I'm telling you. If there is a prophet of God among you, I make myself known to him in visions. I speak to him in dreams. But I don't do it that way with my servant Moses. He has the run of my entire house. I speak to him intimately, in person, in plain talk without riddles. He ponders the very form of God. So why did you show no reverence or respect in speaking against my servant, against Moses?" The anger of God blazed out against them, and then he left. When the cloud moved off from the tent, oh, Miriam had turned leopardess, her skin like snow. Aaron took one look at Miriam. "A leper!" He said to Moses, "Please, my master, please don't come down so hard on us for this foolish and thoughtless sin. Please don't make her like a stillborn baby coming out of its mother's womb with half of its body decomposed." And Moses prayed to God, "Please, God, heal her. Please heal her." God answered Moses, If her father had spat in her face, wouldn't she be ostracized for 7 days? Quarantine her outside the camp for 7 days. Then she can be readmitted to the camp. So Miriam was in quarantine outside the camp for 7 days. The people didn't march on until she was readmitted. Only then did the people march from Hazeroth and set up camp in the wilderness of Paran. God spoke to Moses, "Send men to scout out the country of Canaan that I am going to give the people of Israel. Send one man from each ancestral tribe, each one tried and true leader in the tribe." So Moses sent them off from the wilderness of Paran at the command of God. All of them were leaders in Israel, one from each tribe. These were their names. From Reuben, Shammua, son of Zaccur. From Simeon, Shaphat, son of Hori. From Judah, Caleb, son of Jephunneh. From Issachar, Igal, son of Joseph. From Ephraim, Hosea, son of Nun. From Benjamin, Palti, son of Raphu. From Zebulun, Gadel, son of Sodi. From Manasseh, a Joseph tribe, Gadi, son of Suzi. From Dan, Hamel, son of Gamali. From Asher, Sethur, son of Michael. From Naphtali, Nabi, son of Vophsi. From Gad, Guel, son of Maki. These are the names of the men Moses sent to scout out the land. Moses gave Uzziah, Salvation, son of Nun, a new name. Joshua, God saves. When Moses sent them off to scout out Canaan, he said, "Go up through the Negev and then into the hill country. Look the land over, see what it is like. Assess the people. Are they strong or weak? Are they few or many? Observe the land. Is it pleasant or harsh? Describe the towns where they live. Are they open camps or fortified with walls? And the soil, is it fertile or barren? Are there forests? And try to bring back a sample of the produce that grows there. This is the season for the first ripe grapes." With that, they were on their way. They scouted out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, toward Leo Hamath. Their route went through the Negevi desert to the town of Hebron. Haman, Sheshali, and Tamali, descendants of the giant Anak, lived there. Hebron had built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. When they arrived at the Hisakol Valley, they cut off a branch with a single cluster of grapes. It took 2 men to carry it, slung on a pole. They also picked some pomegranates and figs. They named the place Isakol Valley, Grape Cluster Valley, because of the huge cluster of grapes they had cut down there. After 40 days of scouting out the land, they returned home. They presented themselves before Moses and Aaron and the whole congregation of the people of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They reported to the whole congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Then they told the story of their trip. "We went to the land to which you sent us, and oh, does it flow with milk and honey. Just look at this fruit. The only thing is that the people who live there are fierce. Their cities are huge and well fortified. Worse yet, we saw descendants of the giant Anak. Amalekites are spread out into the Negev. Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites hold the hill countries, and the Canaanites are established on the Mediterranean Sea and along the Jordan." Caleb interrupted, calling for silence before Moses, and said, "Let's go up and take the land now. We can do it." But the other said, "We can't attack those people. They're way stronger than we are. They'll spread scary rumors among the people of Israel." They said, "We scattered out the land from one end to the other. It's a land that swallows people whole. Everybody we saw was huge. Why, we even saw the Nephilim giants. The Anak giants come from the Nephilim. Alongside them, we felt like grasshoppers, and they looked down on us as if we were grasshoppers." Mark chapter 14, verse 22 through verse 52. In the course of their meal, having taken and blessed the bread, he, Jesus, broke it and gave it to them. Then he said, "Take, this is my body." Taking the chalice, he gave it to them, thanking God, and they all drank from it. He said, "This is my blood, God's new covenant, poured out for many people. And I'm not drinking wine again until the day when I drink it in the kingdom of God." They sang a hymn and then went directly to Mount of Olives. Jesus told them, "You're all going to feel that your world is falling apart and that it's my fault. There's a scripture that says, 'I will strike the shepherd, the sheep will scatter.' But after I'm raised up, I will go ahead, leading the way to Galilee." Peter blurted out, "Even if everyone else is ashamed of you, when things fall to pieces, I won't be." Jesus said, "Don't be so sure. Today, this very night, in fact, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." He blustered in protest. "Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you." All the others said the same thing. They came to an area called Gethsemane. Jesus told his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him. He sank into a pit of suffocating darkness. He told them, "I feel bad enough right now to die. Stay here and keep vigilant with me." Going a little ahead, he fell to the ground and prayed for a way out. "Papa, Father, you can't you? Get me out of this? Take this cup away from me? But please, not what I want. What do you want?" He came back and found them sound asleep. He said to Peter, "Simon, you want to sleep on me? Can't you stick it out with me a single hour? Stay alert, be in prayer, so that you don't enter the danger zone without even knowing it. Don't be naive. Part of you is eager, ready for anything in God, but another part is lazy and is old dog sleeping by the fire." He then went back and prayed the same prayer. Returning, he again found them sound asleep. They simply couldn't keep their eyes open, and they didn't have a plausible excuse. He came back a third time and said, "Are you going to sleep all night? No, you slept long enough. Time's up. The Son of Man is about to be betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let's get going. My betrayer has arrived." No sooner were the words out of his mouth when Judas, the one out of the 12, showed up, and with him a bunch of thugs sent by high priests, religion scholars, and leaders, brandishing swords and clubs. The betrayer had worked out a signal with them. "The one I kiss? That's the one. Seize him. Make sure he doesn't get away." He went straight to Jesus and said, "Rabbi," and kissed him. The others then grabbed him and roughed him up. One of the men standing there unsheathed his sword, swung, and came down on the chief priest's servant, lopping off the man's ear. Jesus said to them, What is this? Coming after me with swords and clubs, as if I were a dangerous criminal. Day after day, I've been sitting in the temple teaching, and you never so much as lifted a hand against me. What you in fact have done is confirming the prophetic writings. All the disciples bailed on him. A young man was following along. All he had on was a bedsheet. Some of the men grabbed him, but he got away, running off naked, leaving them holding the sheet. Psalm chapter 52, verse 1 through verse 9. A David psalm. When Dog the Ammonite reported to Saul, David's at Amalek house. Why do you brag of the eagle, big man? God's mercy carries the day. You scheme catastrophe. Your tongue cuts razor sharp artisans in lies. You love evil more than good. You call black white. You love malicious gossip. You foul mouth. God will tear you limb from limb, sweep you up and throw you out, pull you up by the roots and from the land of life. Good people will watch and worship. They'll laugh in relief. Big man bet on the wrong horse, trusted in big money, made his living from catastrophe. And I'm an olive tree, growing green in God's house. I trusted in the generous mercy of God then and now. I thank you always that you went into action, and I'll stay right here. Your good name, my hope, in company with your faithful friends. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1 through verse 3. God hates cheating in the marketplace. He loves it when business is above board. The stuck up fall flat on their faces, but down to earth people stand firm. This was the daily reading for March 9.